And we are following breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. According to multiple reports right now, the Miami Marlins season has been put on hold at least until Monday, possibly further than that. Of course, this is all stemming because of a coronavirus outbreak within that organization. The latest today, 15 players now testing positive for coronavirus, 4 staff members, bringing the total to 19 people. The Marlins were supposed to play the Orioles. That game is now on hold. This past weekend, they played the Phillies. The Phillies players right now are currently being tested for coronavirus, and their games against the Yankees have also been put on hold. Well, those games have been postponed. But again, the Marlins season put on pause at least until Monday. All right, let's bring in our insider, the host of Nothing Personal with David Sampson. David Sampson, all right, you said they had no choice but to do this. David, explain.
So I'm president of the Marlins. If I were, I would be telling Major League Baseball that we've got 15 players out of our top 30 who are not eligible to play. They are on the COVID restricted list, and now they have to go through protocols before they can return, including having 2 negative tests outside of 24 hours and then getting approval from a joint committee with doctors from both the union and the league. I am not going into my pool of 60 players, which Commissioner Rob Manfred said yesterday when he was interviewed and said, we were prepared for this. This is not a nightmare. And that's why we have larger pools of players and larger rosters. Well, no, that's not good enough for me if I'm on the Marlins, because their 60-man pool is made up of many players who are part of their rebuild, who are only in that pool to get development work as minor leaguers as part of their rebuild. And if you bring them up to the big leagues, you are starting their clock toward arbitration and losing them in free agency, which would cost the franchise tens of millions of dollars going forward. And on top of that, it would hurt their development and ruin their rebuild. So I'm calling the commissioner and saying we will forfeit games and lose 1-0 before we call up these players in the pool. So it's up to you. It's totally your choice. And now what baseball has decided is they're going to suspend the Marlins season until at least Monday. And by doing that, you make sure there's no more positive tests. You give the Marlins a chance to get off waivers and sign a bunch of retreads, a bunch of players who didn't have jobs, get them to the big leagues where the Marlins are happy to put them on the roster and let them play, because they're not going to bring up their prospects, and then you can start the season again. A lot of issues to discuss here in terms of winning percentage and the rest of the season and the Phillies, but that's what's going on with the Marlins right now, Amanda.
Yeah, David, I mean, in the immediate future, I mean, how do you start adjusting these schedules? Do you just postpone those games? I mean, do the Yankees go and take on the Orioles because they're not playing the Phillies here? How do you start to adjust things, taking the Marlins out of the equation?
So I've been a part of this when you have to adjust schedules on the fly. And what you're doing is you're looking at off days. You're looking at off days that 2 teams share. You're looking at where teams are located. And you're realizing now, as part of the flexibility for 2020, a season of COVID, that teams have to play wherever they can play against whatever teams that are available to play. So right now you've got the Phillies and you've got the Orioles and you've got the Yankees who have no one to play this week. So what they're going to try to do is match up 2 of those teams, which would make sense to have the Orioles play the Yankees this week, even though they're not scheduled to, but get those games out of the way when you can. Meanwhile, let the Phillies continue to test negative, give them a few days, and then start their season again on Friday and regularly scheduled against the Blue Jays, which will be at Citizens Bank Park. And then the Blue Jays just have to be comfortable that the clubhouse has been bombed since the Marlins left and completely cleaned, because as you know, the visiting clubhouse attendant also tested positive for the Phillies, which means there was clearly a problem in the Marlins clubhouse.
David, not knowing exactly how long the Marlins are going to be sidelined right now, again, the reports say at least until Monday. How many games could they safely miss? Do you at some point completely remove them from the occasion? The Marlins will not play for the rest of the season?
So this is what happened in the Challenge Cup with Major League Soccer, where a team just tested positive. They ended up not going into the bubble and not playing and not participating. Could the MLB season go on with 29 teams? Yeah, it could. That would obviously prejudice the Marlins, who would maybe have a chance at the expanded playoffs. Unlikely, but maybe. But you cannot risk all of postseason baseball because one team had the unfortunate situation of having this outbreak. What I think is more likely to happen is the Marlins will make up as many of these games as possible during the off days. And I think secretly, MLB won't admit this, secretly they're hoping that the Marlins are enough out of the playoffs after 50 games that they'd be mathematically eliminated, so making up any games won't be necessary. But it is true and possible that other teams may not play the full complement of 60 games, and playoffs will be decided on winning percentage.
We saw Joe Girardi said that he feels comfortable if teams do not play the full 60 games. So if we see another team, would this be different though? Yes, this is the Marlins. Let's say it was the Yankees, the Astros, the Dodgers, somebody like that. Would Major League Baseball be responding in a different manner to this?
Well, that's been the very popular thing all over the media right now and I was a part of this for 16 years, so I heard it and it made me crazy. Well, it's just the Marlins. Well, if it were somebody else, then it would be all different. Here's how it is in the real world. There is complete consistency from MLB to all 30 teams in this regard. Because can you imagine if the Marlins have an outbreak and they pause the season, etc., but when the Dodgers or Yankees would have an outbreak, they would do something differently? That would call into question everything that Major League Baseball does as it relates to its 30-member teams. Not going to happen. So the Marlins are being treated the way they'd have to treat any team who would have an outbreak like this. And what the hope is now is that they can make it the rest of the season with players being more careful, clubhouses being cleaned better, social distancing happening, and there are no more outbreaks, only the occasional positive test that, of course, has been dealt with already by teams like the Reds, the Braves, and the Nationals.
All right, David Sampson, we truly appreciate you joining us here, your insight into this situation. Again, the Marlins season on pause, at least until Monday, according to multiple reports. David, thank you.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.